This is an online art gallery where we are going to sell art using AI, and as you can see, I've sold a dozen artworks on this gallery already. Artists believe that if you make great mind-blowing art with passion, love, dedication and skill, that somehow magically money will rain into your bank account, that somehow magically sales follows quality. This, however, is a disgusting lie. It's a romanticized notion of art world success. I hear this type of advice on YouTube all of the time. Just put yourself out there. Just post on social media. Now, I get furious when I hear this type of stuff because this type of thinking didn't actually work for me and just made me feel like a romanticized loser. With just a couple of steps, you will be selling your first artwork for $1,000 in less than 14 days. So let's get started. Way too many artists say things like, I'm going to do it when I'm good enough, or I'll first learn how to do it and then I'll get started. And this is the trap that I fell into myself all the way in the beginning. So here's what happened. I made art and then I participated in a competition, ranked pretty highly, and then got invited to show my art in a group exhibition. And this sounded amazing until I got the result, namely that it was extremely bad. I didn't really sell a lot of art and I felt terrible. And I knew that I was doing something wrong. And so what I did naturally was learning how to do it. I started reading all kinds of business books and started watching YouTube rigorously every single day. All the business channels, Valuetainments, the Alex Hermosis, everything that I could get my hands on. And after a year of doing that, several hours a day, I realized that I had nothing to show for. I didn't came closer at all. I just wasted my time learning, pretending that I was growing into something greater, but nothing was happening. It turns out learning is actually a very good way to postpone on your dreams. The reality was that I didn't have a problem with chasing my dreams. I had a problem with starting to chase my dreams in the first place. Until I read this quote from Zig Ziglar. You don't have to be great in order to start, but you have to start in order to be great. And this is absolutely true and absolutely the problem that I was having. And this resonated with me tremendously. I strongly believe that the biggest waste of your time is putting time in not getting started. Now you might be thinking that getting started is very easy and we shouldn't spend a whole chapter on this, but I asked artists, hundreds of artists, of which some spent 10 years, 20 years making art, and I asked them how many of them already put their art up for sale, and the results blew my mind away completely. The far majority of artists, as you can see, never put their art up for sale. And so it turns out that this easy thing is actually pretty hard because easy things tend to become harder with every day that goes by. George Claude Lorimer said, putting off an easy thing makes it hard. Putting off a hard thing makes it impossible. And this reminds me of a story I read in Say What You Mean by Orange J. Sofer, one of the most powerful meditation stories I've ever heard. So this meditation teacher, he goes to prison to give a workshop for the prisoner. And on his first workshop, upon arrival, he asks the prison inmates, a small group of prison inmates, how long they have to be in prison for the crimes that they committed. And the total sum was a little over 100 years. And then in the second question, he asked them, how long did it took you to commit the crimes that you committed? And the total sum was nothing more than a couple of minutes. And this made a very powerful impact on me. A couple of minutes determining 100+ years. That's the power of a couple decisions in your life. Some decisions have the power to determine how your life goes. And this starting your art career type of decision, whether or not you should put your art up for sale, has that same impact. It's such a powerful decision that it can literally change the course of your life. And so it's very understandable that a decision like that could change your career trajectory is very hard. It's not easy at all. And so what does this mean for artists? Well, it means that we have to make this decision as easy as possible and we don't have to over complexify things. And so what I would recommend is to go for an online gallery. They are not the best, but they make it as easy as you could possibly have it to put your art up for sale. And the online gallery that I would recommend happens to be Saatchi Art. There's this beautiful quote by Michael Altshuler. The bad news is time flies. The good news is you're the pilot. And to me, this is extremely powerful because before you know it, you'll blink and you're 45 years old wondering what happened, remembering your 20-year-old self that had all of those dreams but didn't have the guts to get started. Now, when it comes to making it yourself as easy as possible, the most powerful tool ever developed in the history of humanity to make it yourself easy is artificial intelligence. And in the next chapter, we will show you how you can use AI to make it very easy. So let's use ChatGPT to write our artwork descriptions for us. Now, the most important part here will be prompt engineering. And being good at prompt engineering basically means that you are very good at talking to AI. You are very good at writing down a particular request that will get you the best results. Now, in order to do this, we will obviously need to be able to write an artwork description ourselves first so that we understand the concepts of an artwork description. I'm going to assume that you already know that, but just in case you don't, I'll put a screenshot of some of the basic concepts on the screen right now. Feel free to pause the video and take a screenshot of my screenshot. So let's say we want to write a description for this blue-orange type of artwork. First, we are going to give AI some context of what we are trying to accomplish, and then we are going to give it as much information as possible to complete this task. So let's go to chat.openai.com. So let's see what AI comes up with. Let's press enter. Abstract waves. So it literally invented a title. I forgot to put in the title in the prompt, and it literally invented the title abstract waves. It works. I mean, it's abstract waves to some extent, yeah. It also writes it in the third person, so this is absolutely possible. You can write it in the third person. This comes over as a little bit more professional, as if somebody else wrote it about you. Perhaps the gallerists, perhaps the people that are working at the website, the and stuff like that. And so this is very professional, you know. Now, the beautiful thing about a prompt like this is once you find a prompt that you are satisfied with, you can basically take all the elements and replace them every single time for a new artwork, and then AI comes up with a unique description for every single artwork without you doing a lot of work, you know. Now, let's also write something that's a little bit more personal, a little bit more unique to this particular artwork, and see what AI comes up with. Here's what I did. I just added some touches, some personal information from when I was young, things like that. Now, this is not real information. This is just hypothetical information that you could use potentially or something similar. Let's see what AI comes up with. Let's press enter. This is insane. This is amazing. I mean, look at what AI does. It's literally transforming the information that I gave it into an amazing story with a climax. Read this. One day, as he was walking through the city, he stumbled upon the very same blue house with orange door that his mother had warned him about as a child. This is a moment in the story that people can connect with, that people can emotionally relate with. It's very powerful. This is just a good story. I mean, what can I say? Most artwork descriptions do not have a powerful emotional connection like this one right here that AI just created for us. As he worked, he felt a sense of release and freedom. It's adding emotion. It's adding, oh man, this is good. This is good storytelling, actually. And it suggests that this whole abstract art process was a way to get rid of those childhood traumas. A lot of people have that. A lot of people can relate with this. If somebody with childhood traumas that are somewhat similar in some kind of way reads a description like this, they immediately get connected emotionally. And people buy because of an emotional connection. They buy from the limbic system. It's the limbic system that is responsible for emotional processing that will push people in a particular direction. Buying or not buying depends on emotion, not the quality of the art. Here's what I challenge you to do. Go to Art Basel or any of the major art fairs where artworks are being sold for millions, and then ask people about the story behind a particular artwork. And I can guarantee you that 99% of the time you will not get a better story than the story that's right here written by ChatGPT. So ChatGPT is gorgeous. It's amazing for artists, no doubt about it. But there are some other pretty interesting AI tools for artists as well. AI product photography is one of them. Let's take a look. People buy art because they need to solve a problem. And the more likely your artwork solves that problem, the more likely they will be buying from you. And so what you have to be doing is to increase the certainty that your product, your artwork will solve their problem. And the more you can increase that certainty, the more likely you will sell. And we can do that by using AI. Let me show you how. So let's take the following example. An artwork collector is searching for a particular artwork for in their home. Let's assume they have a blue interior with a blue sofa, blue type of stuff. And so they're searching for a blue artwork. And then they stumble upon this online gallery where you have put your art on, and they search for these things. Now in that scenario, if you would take an artwork that is blue and happens to fit in their interior, they will kind of assume that it will probably fit in their interior. But if you, however, have an artwork that is not only blue, but also has several images in several interiors that are all blue, of which some are kind of similar to the interior that the art collector has, well, now suddenly you increase the amount of certainty that it will solve their problem by a lot. And so we want to do that. We want to take product photography images of our artworks in amazing interiors that will resemble the interior of the potential buyer. And we used to have to go to photographers who could do that for us in professional settings, or do it ourselves, which is an insane amount of time. You have to take good pictures with the best lighting possible. Then you have to find stock imagery and put all of your art in there, edit the whole fucking thing. It's a mess. Or you put your artwork and you actually hang it in amazing interiors and then take pictures of that. It's really hard. Luckily, AI makes it very easy for us because it solves this entire problem. Let me show you how. So let's take a look at some of the AI product photography tools that are out there. I've tested a whole bunch of them. You can see them on the screen, but there are two that kind of stand out: PhotoRoom and pixelcut.ai. Now, PhotoRoom is a really cool one because it has an amazing design. It's an app and it's super easy to use. You just take a picture with your phone and then it does basically everything automatically for you. It scans the whole thing, puts it in environments and all of that stuff, but you can only use it for very small scale artworks, not for big scale artworks. When it comes to big scale artworks, pixelcut.ai is your tool. And so pixelcut.ai is extremely easy to use. You select an artwork, you select natural, you click submit, and AI does everything for you. And some of the results here, I like them a lot. If you look at the ones with the plants, for example, they're just really cool, you know? They're really good. And AI also seems to understand what type of people are searching for art and is creating images for those people. Let's take a look at, for example, this one over here. This is a shop, you know, this is a window shop in some kind of street where your art could be displayed, because those interior designers who are responsible for these shop window type of things, they're searching for art from time to time. And so this is really cool. From all the product photography AI tools that I've used, you can see them on the screen right now. I do think that pixelcut.ai gets my preference. It's just the best one when it comes to larger scale artworks, and so yeah. But there's one thing that I have to point out. If we compare these product photography AI tools to the tools that already exist that don't use AI but are specifically designed for artists, I will list them on the screen right now, then we can see that these original tools are way better. They don't only allow you to show art in settings in line with buyer profiles, in line with the emotions of people that buy art, but they are also just of a higher quality. There's one downside though: they are not cheap and you have to pay for them. You have to pay $100, $200, $300 a year, but if you have that budget, then they are definitely your best option. Artists are ashamed to call themselves a real artist because they are still doing a day job. And I most certainly felt this little under 10 years ago or something. When people were asking me, what do you do for a living? I wanted to say that I was an artist. I didn't want to say that I was a dance instructor or whatever random job I was doing at the time. I wanted to say that I was an artist, but I also knew that I wasn't a professional artist. I wasn't making a living from my practice, and so I didn't really dare to say this. And then eventually I would say, well, I'm an artist. And then when I said it, I felt like a liar, because what is that? An artist that doesn't make money from his practice? That's not a real artist. I felt like an imposter. And this is nothing to be ashamed of, because I don't know if you've noticed, but there are millions of artists trying to sell their art, trying to make a living from their practice. And on top of that, you're not only fighting against people who are still alive, you're also fighting against people who have been dead for 500 years, because Da Vinci might have been dead, but he is still being bought and sold in the marketplace. And so you're effectively fighting against the smartest people in the history books. And so of course you're gonna have a day job. I mean, that's how it starts. This is not something to be ashamed of. Now, why do we have to talk about this? Why is this imposter syndrome so important? Well, in the time where AI will take over a large percentage of things and a large part of your job, you will not feel less of an imposter. You will feel more like an imposter, because when you are not even writing your own product descriptions anymore and not taking your own product imagery anymore, and perhaps partially not making your own art anymore in the future, etc., 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 you will feel less like an artist, and then people will ask you what you are, and you will have to say that you're an artist. Do you see that? There's a conflict there, because you know what happens behind the scenes. And so it's important to note that we shouldn't feel bad about this. This is how it goes. This is how it has always gone. If you look at the best artists from the history books, Rembrandt, for example, he wasn't making all of his art. A lot of people were making his art, and then he was doing the finishing touches or something like that. And so this is very common. This is very normal. Damien Hirst is not making his art, yet he is confidently saying that he is an artist. And so this imposter syndrome is not something that we need. It's okay to outsource to AI. It's okay to put things on other people or artificial intelligence and still call yourself an artist. And the reality is that when you are fighting against millions of other artists, not doing that is simply not gonna make the cut. It's simply not gonna work if you don't. You have to move now. You have to start incorporating AI, otherwise you will be outcompeted. And if you're doubting about your competence levels, if you're doubting about whether or not you're good enough, you might as well listen to what Robert Hugh said about it. The greater the artist, the greater the doubt. Perfect confidence is granted to the less talented as a consolation prize. Now, in order to make this whole process work way better, we have to make sure that people get to see our work, because if nobody sees our work, nobody is going to buy our work. And so the key is to start driving traffic towards our online art gallery. Now, explaining this would take another 10, 15, 20 minutes or something, and so we're not going to do that because I already did it in another video. I'll link it in the description and in the end screen. That said, get the hell out of here.